Am I the a-hole for telling my dad, aunts, and uncles to grow up and get over their mom's affair? My grandma 65 female and I 21 male get along really well. She's amazing. I love her and look up to her. That's why my perspective can be biased and need some point of views to know if I messed up. Grandma had 5 children. My dad 43 male, my uncle Tim 42 male, my uncle Matt 35 male, my aunt Faith 47 female, and my aunt Susan 30 female with grandpa 66 male. Grandpa was a terrible father and a garbage husband. An alcoholic who spent all his money on liquor. Never supported grandma while she worked her butt to provide for her kids as a baker. She got tired of it and kicked him out in the 90s. She stayed as single mom and only provider. Did he pay child support? No. Did he help her buy a house for his kids? No. Did he ask for custody or try to spend time with his kids? No. He only visited once in a blue moon. Grandma and grandpa never divorced since my grandma didn't believe in it and she was always a single mother. Then my grandma started dating William, 67 male, 2 years ago, but she didn't introduce him to her kids because she was afraid of their reaction and I was the only one who knew about the affair. Grandma announced that she was moving to William's house this past July and everyone was furious and started accusing her of cheating and that she was choosing her affair partner over her own kids. She was even hesitant about moving in with William, but I encouraged her because he makes her happy and he is a nice man. It's been almost 2 months and they refuse to talk to her or have low contact with her and that is hurting her. She asked my grandpa for a divorce and he got mad at her and accused her of cheating. They were talking trash about her. They sex at a family dinner. Thus, I told them to grow up and stop acting like kids since they are not. I told them that they should be happy about their mom's happiness because that woman dedicated her life to make life easier for them. And it's so unfair that they crap on her while praising my grandpa, who had girlfriends by the way. They all called me the a-hole for not taking their feelings into consideration and they say that something doesn't feel right about their mom dating at this age. They accuse her of cheating, but that isn't cheating. They haven't been together for around 25 years. My grandpa had a couple of girlfriends. And yes, they were mad at him too, but it's time to grow up. Am I the a-hole for telling them to grow up? I think they need to understand that their parents ain't getting back together, in case they have a hope, and that grandma has a right to be happy. I mean, she did her job already without any help. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Legally, they're separated. Unfortunately, your grandma will have to divorce grandpa if she does want to have a marriage between her and William, recognized under state and federal law. It's not an affair since they're separated. Not the a-hole. Your dad, uncles, and aunts are childish and are acting in a selfish way. Your grandma has the right to be happy at any age. As you said, this is very far from cheating, since your grandparents split up over 2 whole decades ago. Your family needs to accept that and let her have some joint happiness in her life finally, when she can focus on herself instead of focusing on raising 5 kids alone. I feel sad for grandma to realize that she raised such ungrateful a-holes. How utterly disappointing for her. Could they even name one instance where their father did anything of significance for them? Not the a-hole. I bet it's not even the cheating so much as it is that she has someone in her life who gets some of her attention and they want it all. That cheating is just an excuse. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents have legally been separated for 25 years, and your dad and his siblings bear being ageist by saying at 65 your grandma is too old to date. Personally, I'd be telling them the statistics about STDs in the senior population. The geriatric population really likes to get it on, you know, seeing as they don't have to worry about anyone getting knocked up. Those senior living communities and nursing homes are just as much more wrinkled version of Love Island. And your grandma still has 20 years to go before she hits that crowd. I'm not at all kidding. Look it up. Old people are really into lots of casual hookups. You are 100% right on this. You are awesome for having your grandma's back. I hope your grandma and William have the best golden years together, and that her children all get their heads out of their behinds and grovel at their mom's and William's feet for being pricks. Can't confirm on this one. Here in the UK, there was a whole mini epidemic in care homes for the elderly with syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to leave our wedding because her perfume was bothering me? I just got married to the love of my life. I've usually got it on pretty well with my in-laws. Usually, my mother-in-law doesn't wear perfume, or at least not any that I've been able to notice. My wife had her mother be her matron of honor, so she was standing with us up front. It was a small area, and with her right next to my wife, I was able to smell her perfume. Shortly after the ceremony started, I started to get watery eyes and sniffles. Our ceremony was supposed to only last 20 minutes max, so I thought I would just push through unless it got worse. It didn't get worse until after the ceremony when new mother-in-law hugged me. Itchy eyes, itchy throat, and headache got added to the mix. My wife asked if I was alright, and I told her I think her mother's perfume was getting to me. We had someone go get some allergy medication. I took one, but it didn't do a whole lot, and I started to feel out of it. Get to the reception, and we started to do our photos, and I couldn't do group photos with my mother-in-law in them. I told my wife we needed to figure something out because my symptoms weren't letting up, and I didn't want to be out of it from taking more meds for our reception or have to leave our own reception. My wife asked her mom to keep some distance between us to try and make it easier for me. It didn't really. The perfume followed her like a damn cloud. Then my wife asked her mom to try and wash wherever she dabbed her perfume, but mother-in-law said she hadn't dabbed it on. She spritzed herself so it was on her dress too. At that point, they said they were out of ideas and there wasn't anything we could do. I said there was one more thing, and suggested that maybe mother-in-law leave to change her dress and then come back, or even just go to a nearby thrift store or something and get any kind of clothes. I'd even pay for them. I asked my mother-in-law to either please to do that or to leave, and would visit later with cake because it was getting to the point that I would have to leave. My wife and mother-in-law objected to this because my wife wanted her mom there the whole time. I understand the day was big for my wife and she wanted her mother there. And I wanted her there too, but I wasn't able to enjoy my own wedding. I wound up sitting outside with some of my family and groomsmen. I started to feel better, and when I did, my wife came out and asked if I'd be going back inside then. I told her not so long as her mom was still there and hadn't changed. That night ended with my wife spending our wedding night at her parents' house. Am I the a-hole for asking my mother-in-law to leave? Edited to add, yes, my wife is aware of this. I had a similar reaction to a perfume she bought before. This was the only third time I've had a reaction that bad to perfumes. My wife and mother-in-law objected to this because my wife wanted her mom there the whole time. But your wife didn't want her new husband there? Oof. Definitely not the a-hole. Bad situation, but you were being reasonable. Mother-in-law should have gone and taken a shower and returned with clean clothes. Wife is being unreasonable. I hope you didn't sign the wedding papers yet. I actually had an allergic reaction to the flowers in my wife's bouquet. But since the wedding was outside, it didn't hit me until days later when we were driving away from the hotel with a bouquet in the car. There wasn't a viable option for sealing it up, so we ended up tossing out the bouquet. Mother-in-law sent over a vase of flowers a few months ago with the same flowers. I didn't even realize it was the same flowers, but within a minute of me being in the same room, I was wrecked. Not the a-hole. I can't believe your mother-in-law and your new wife would be so selfish. You struggling to breathe and simply be at your wedding is wildly messed up when mother-in-law had opportunity to just buy a new outfit or come back later. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter be in wedding photos? I, 30 female, have a daughter, Lily, 5 female. My brother, James, 32 male, and his wife, Brittany, 26 female, got married in July. I was friendly with Brittany before they were dating/engaged, but we weren't friends. James and I are very close though. When James first proposed to Brittany and they started wedding planning, it was made very clear to me that Lily and I would be part of the wedding. Throughout the wedding planning process, it was reiterated that Lily would be a flower girl and I would be maid of honor. A few weeks before the wedding, Brittany came to my house to talk to me. She explained that her family had raised concerns about kids attending the wedding, and Brittany/James have decided to make the ceremony child-free, but that Lily was more than welcome to come to the reception. I tell her something along the lines of, "Okay, it's your wedding. I love my brother, so I'll do whatever he asks of me." Fast forward to the rehearsal. We line up and everything is going as expected until Brittany's 3 nieces, 5 female, 7 female, 8 female, walk in as junior bridesmaids. I'm confused and slightly annoyed, but whatever. After, James pulls me to the side and says that Brittany was worried that Lily would accidentally ruin the wedding with a temper tantrum, and that's why they lied about the wedding be child-free. I explained to James that this really angers me, and it hurt that they think that about my child. But it's fine. I had already arranged for my friend to watch Lily during the ceremony and then meet me for the reception. James said he understood my feelings and didn't agree with Lily not being invited. The day of the wedding, Brittany asks where Lily is and why she wasn't there while we got ready. I explained that she is with a friend and will be at the reception later. Brittany then says she's going to call so Lily can be brought over for the pictures because people will ask why she's missing in the pictures, and it will make her look bad. I told her she can call, but my friend knows the situation and won't come until I ask her to. Brittany called James to have him make me stop being a petty witch, but he said he knew the plan and didn't see a problem with it. She then asked what they're supposed to tell people when they look at photos, and asked where Lily is. I said to tell them that she wasn't invited since she has too many temper tantrums. She called me a witch and said I was taking things too personally. After that, the wedding was awkward to say the least. There was a lot of drama within the wedding party that had nothing to do with the situation. James texted our family group chat with a link to the wedding photos. Now extended family has been reaching out, wanting to know why Lily isn't in any pictures and I have to explain the situation. My mom is on my side, but all my aunts/uncles said that I'm a petty a-hole. So am I the a-hole? Edited to add. 1. Does my daughter has a history of throwing temper tantrums? No, throwing temper tantrums is out of the norm for her. 2. How I was maid of honor without knowing other kids would be involved in the wedding? I was originally just a bridesmaid, but drama within the wedding party is the reason Brittany's promoted me to maid of honor. 3. Just to clarify the timeline a little bit, James and Brittany did first look/couple photos the week before the wedding. On the wedding day itself, the only picture that we took were get ready/bridal party and family photos. Now for the comments. What an absolute crap show. Not a hole. Your daughter wasn't invited, so why would she be in the pictures? Although I'm curious, why is your family so concerned about your daughter having a temper tantrum? Is this a pattern with her? No, she doesn't throw temper tantrums on a regular basis. It's definitely not a pattern and is very out of the norm for her. Not the a-hole, whether Lily throws tantrums or not. The bride/groom made their choices clear. Who comes and doesn't is their choice, nobody else's. Lying to you about it was super trashy. No excuse for them there. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Make it seem like the kids were warmly welcomed when in fact Lily was coldly excluded. It's their wedding day and you must respect that, but that doesn't mean having your daughter become a prop for the official photos, or assisting them in misleading the family and relatives by implying Lily was invited when she wasn't. Personally, I think you've done perfectly. Just explain the situation and tell your brother you understand and forgive him for misleading you about Lily, but you understand he has bigger problems than you. And if he needs to talk to someone, you'll always be there. He probably will at some point, because it sounds like Brittany is in the middle of more problems than Lily's wedding photo. Not the a-hole. She got her wish. Lily was not at the wedding and was at the reception, which is why sometimes we have to be careful what we wish for. The photos represent things perfectly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for sending the police after my ex-brother-in-law after an heirloom got lost? My ex-husband and I had a son, 11 now. 4 years ago, we divorced and he moved into the outhouse of his aging dad. Then last year, my ex died of a sudden stroke. Our marriage ended on good terms, so at the funeral, my ex-father-in-law offered us to come over and look through my ex's stuff to see if we wanted anything. He also said that we should take our time as it's not going anywhere. It took us 6 weeks to gather the strength, only to realize that most of his stuff was already gone. We asked my ex-father-in-law about it, who was as surprised as us. He explained my ex's brother was there a couple of times to check on the house and occasionally get some documents. After a lot of pressing, my ex-brother-in-law admitted that he sold or threw away most things to prepare the house to be rented out. My son and I were heartbroken. My ex-father-in-law was too, but took this as a sign to add something to his will. My son and he both were history buffs and bonded over that. My ex-father-in-law also had a small collection of historical artifacts, books, and other trinkets that was his biggest pride. And after the whole ordeal with my ex, he put in his will that my son is to inherit it. 2 weeks ago, my ex-father-in-law passed. We waited until after the funeral before we went over to get the collection. First time ex-brother-in-law told us he was in a hurry at the moment and we should come back later. The next day, he told us that he couldn't find it. Must have been lost or the old man got rid of it. Heck, for all I know, it could have been stolen. I saw red. As soon as I was back home, I called the cops and told them the story and made sure to stress my ex-brother-in-law's suspicion that it might have been stolen. They must have finally come round to investigate because yesterday I received a call from a furious ex-brother-in-law that the police were at his home. After realizing there was neither remorse nor urgency in his voice, I doubled down with a bluff and told him I'm suspecting that there might have been cultural goods in the collection that would have needed to be registered, and that I was just about to call the cops again because this would escalate this from simple theft to antiquities fencing. We had the collection dropped off at our house an hour later, after he suddenly was able to find it. My son is over the moon, and I'm happy he has a way of connecting to his late granddad through the collection. Being a small town, this is now naturally the talk of the city, and I have no doubts that the time the police were at their house will be brought up every time someone says ex-brother-in-law's name for years to come. And of course, everybody is picking sides. And through the vineyard, I heard that some people are painting me as a greedy a-hole, while others think the same of my ex-brother-in-law. While none of this will have an impact on my family, we're likely to move away now that there's not family left here. I do feel bad for maybe tainting my son's memory of his granddad and uncle by going for the nuclear option, and fear it might have been unproportional as he could have genuinely just been unable to find it. So, am I the a-hole? I don't think he was genuinely anything. You bluffed. And an hour later he found it? Yeah, right. Definitely not the a-hole. He deserves to have the cop visit tag follow him for the rest of his days. Bless his heart. It's so weird how people can complain about others making them face consequences for their actions. But those consequences are 100% normal and expected. Like, you stole things. Police visits only? You are getting off lucky, buddy. Not the a-hole. I would call your brother-in-law a vulture. Except that's pretty harsh on actual vultures who are useful to the ecosystem. You found and protected your son's inheritance. Any small town gossips who don't see that have either been fed a skewed version of events or are just as greedy grabby as brother-in-law. Oh, I'm pretty sure in the current retelling of events, there are already drugs, the mafia or the government involved. Nothing beats the creativity of a game of telephone involving a rural small town.